I'm all right. Yeah, maybe a bit nervous about our talk this morning, but I'm really glad to be doing it. I feel, I mean, I love the way we met. We kind of did this. We did the work with the Common and Kind,
Yeah.
with the BOH Orchestra, and working with you. Oh, in that, I remember when you first kind of, first even us just doing it with the piano. I just found you amazing, and the way that you could get the orchestral sound in the piano, and then conducting, singing with you, conducting. I just felt that you could hear my breath, and you were completely. And I just was like, "Yay! Finally!" It was just
Finally,
it happened to me. Yeah, it was just great. But in respect of that, we were just talking about the recent loss of Thai musical. Wow. Who we lost to this COVID.
yeah, it was shocking.
It was, oh my God, I think we're all still in shock, but it was, yeah, I know we just want to celebrate him, and such a kind-hearted and wonderful artist, and yeah, and his performance at Common and Kind with Jay Horde was just off the charts.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Oh, so to his love and his family and all his friends, we send, just so many blessings from our hearts. And yeah, so it's 9:01. Good morning. This is Nadine Benjamin, and I am the intuitive Verdi soprano. I am an NLP mind coach and a certified high performance coach and a healer. And I'm also a professional opera singer, and I love singing. I just love performing, and I love traveling and all over the world to do it. And the other thing I absolutely adore doing is I love connecting, championing, and celebrating people. And this morning I have the wonderful pleasure of being in connection with Michael Karcher-Young, winner of the Audience Prize at the Leeds Conductors Competition for his electric conducting. Michael Karcher-Young combines an innate musicianship with a visceral presence on the podium and is a passionate advocate for classical music. Michael is the artistic director and co-founder of the Beethoven Orchestra for Humanity, and is also the assistant conductor for the English Symphony Orchestra. Good morning, Michael. So lovely to have you. And as usual, as I say, neither Michael and I are GPs or medical doctors or psychiatrists. We're just here to offer our experience, our perspective of something. And if it helps you in any way in your development, please do. And if you do, please reach out to someone, or if you know somebody needs help, reach out to them too. Good morning, Lena. Good morning, Susan. Lovely to see you this morning.
Good morning.
Thanks, Michael. So, Michael, tell us about yourself and your relationship to music. I mean, it would be wonderful to start there, I think.
Yeah. Well, it just so happens that I have a little picture, which is from when Michael aged about 4. Wow.
You were at the piano then?
At the piano then, it seems. And my mother dug this out last year at some point.
Yeah.
Particularly like the sandals. Very fashionable. But it's a very good posture. I mean, I teach a little bit of piano now.
Yeah.
And they don't always come, like this.
Yeah.
So my mother tells me I was playing the piano from about the age of 3, and then I didn't like going like this. I would sort of pick tunes out. Yeah. And things went from there. And I took piano lessons. I was a very stubborn pupil. I didn't want to do the fingerings on the page. I didn't understand why. Why could I just do it my own way? Much to the frustration of my teacher.
Yeah.
Funny enough, when I teach my students, most of the time I'm insisting they do the printed fingerings. But I have them understand why. That's the thing. Anyway, So piano was my instrument. I went through school, I did piano, I composed a bit. Then when I went to university, I was there to do piano as my main instrument. But I'd always had this feeling as a performer on the piano that that I couldn't get to the bottom of the keys. Do you know what I mean? Like I wasn't connecting in the way that I wanted to. And then I saw that I could start conducting. There were student orchestras and they were conducted by students. And so I took lessons and that's how I began conducting. But I just remembered, actually, you asked me about my relationship with music. And that's a slightly different question. Well, I mean, clearly I found something with the piano. I was copying my father playing stuff from a very early age. And all throughout school in particular, like music was like I had music and music had me. That's how it felt. And I mean, we're going to talk about bullying, etc. Can't step over that. But you know, I often felt that for me, music was my hook to life, and you know, sometimes maybe we'll touch upon this later. Sometimes I felt if I hadn't have had the experiences that I had as a child, would I feel music the way I do now as a result?
Amen. I love that. Yeah. I identify with that last statement so much, actually, because I think our experiences, in my opinion, that our experiences do colour how we turn up on stage as performers. And I think the sound of my voice is very much influenced by the adversity that I've had in my life. You know, so tell us a bit more. Like, so how would, let's just go there. We're not going to be able to avoid it, are we? Let's just go there. Like, in terms of bullying, what kind of happened for you, and how did music kind of make that crossover, that integration for you?
Well, and bullying for me really started at junior school. I remember infant school being, I had a couple of good friends who I played with and would go home to each other's houses, that kind of thing. And that was all fine. And then at junior school, that changed from the very beginning. And I think there were some older kids in a way that I hadn't experienced before. I have some kind of memory of them, like 4 of them standing over me. And I don't know what was being said or anything like this, but I felt very small and threatened. And then throughout junior school, I was, the way I saw it, I was picked on. I was picked on for being short, picked on for being Jewish. And I was picked on for picking my nose. But the thing about that, though, is they used to say, pick your nose and eat it.
Yeah.
And I used to think, but I don't eat it. I did pick my nose.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? The things that the things that we're actually picked on for, you know, like, because I was picked on for my sexuality. The teachers had to send me home 5 minutes before school ended so I could get away, you know, so I wasn't beaten up every day after school. And I used to have these little, my hair is really curly, and I used to get picked on for like the little curly bits behind my hair, for being studious, for having a talent, you know. So I was seen as like teacher's pet, or I was a show off. I mean, I don't know how that was for you. I mean, did you?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I think I am a bit of a show off. Might as well own it. Although, you know, we all have introvert and extrovert sides.
I'm very shy, actually. So yeah, it's that thing, isn't it? That dichotomy of having to show up to be extrovert and then maybe feeling less so.
Well, where I always like showing off is through music. I mean, that was the thing. Often I would be very happy if there was a piano there at a party and I was just playing in the background.
Yeah.
And at some point, maybe someone starts noticing and enjoying what I'm doing, but not necessarily the main focus. But I mean, this music was like literally the one way I could reliably connect with people. I just felt like I couldn't, and particularly people my own age, I felt like I just couldn't do it through talking.
Yeah.
People didn't want to be my friend. So I mean, the thing is,
that was the same for me. I hear you. I had no friends. Like, I hear you. Yeah, I hear you.
I was terrible at football. And, you know, as a boy at school, if you're not good at football, that... and actually, I was also the teacher's pet, that kind of thing. And I would you know, especially at secondary school, I learned very quickly not to put my hand up.
Yes. Oh my goodness. If you put your hand up, that was outright war after class. It was just like, oh, yeah. Yeah. I really identify, Michael. Really interesting. You know, and I used to go home, Michael, and what I remember is I used to go home and sing, because I also came from a home that had domestic violence as well. So I was coming from home, which was that, and going into school to the same thing. So it never left me. I mean, I know we're laughing about it now, but actually, when you're actually going through it, it is the most terrifying thing. As a small person, you think that you're going to lose your life in some way every day.
Right.
How it feels. Well, that's how it felt to me, you know. Yeah. And I would go home and I would sing my prayers, because I knew that that was the one thing that nobody could take away from me, was my voice, and that relationship that I had with a source or a higher power. When I sung to that source, I knew that I was okay, just for those moments, you know.
Yeah, I would say for me, I mean, I didn't go through domestic violence or anything like that. So, you know, the one place that was safe was home.
Yeah, that's lovely.
And I had the piano and I could compose, and I kind of regret that I don't really compose now. But there was a place where I could channel all of this stuff, and perhaps it's moving a bit away, but I think it's relevant. Through music, you know, there is a place for all of these feelings, and there's something positive about it. There's, in fact, extraordinarily positive. The full range of human experience, and, you know, when you're being bullied and you feel alone, and well, there's a particular sting to it, and yet through music there is a way of talking about it or expressing it that just by the act of doing it is healing. Maybe also the fact that you're sharing it with other people without saying this, that, and the other. And so I had that, and that was super important.
Yeah. I love that. It's the voice for me, the singing, music, even listening to music, even dancing it out sometimes. Because I didn't go around explaining what was going on for me. I just didn't as a child. But I knew, just like what you're saying, is that there was a solace in the music, and there was something that came out of me that, it was healing. It was a safe space. With that point of connection to music, through music, for me was also always a safe space. And it was something that I felt, and still to this day feel, that nobody can take away from me, because it's innately born in me, this gift, this talent, this, it's I was born with it, I feel like. And and these adversities were just sent to color what I was given.
Was there a specific point where you felt like you walked away from your bullying experiences and things like that?
I remember it very vividly, because when I left secondary school, my grades, because of the bullying that I had been facing, were really low. Like, I remember them being so low. So I had to go and retake all my GCSEs,
Jesus, I had a similar experience at A levels.
Oh no, my gosh! Oh my god! You see how the world's like, and I had to go and retake every single one of them, and I was like, when I walked into that college, I don't know what it was. I was like, I have been bullied since I was 11 years old, or even younger. You know, enough is enough. I am going to walk through those gates knowing within my soul that nobody is going to put their hand on me again. That's it. And I went in and I did my GCSEs that year, and I got an A's. I got A's throughout most of whereas I'd come out of my school with F's and E's, you know. But I came out and then I left home at 16. So I had this. I am now taking control of my world, because this is the world that I need to take control. I'm going to take control. Eventually, I took control of my thoughts and and all the rest of it. But, you know, I could just see Tanya there. Hi, Tanya, saying, sing your prayers, peace with yourself. Yes, Tanya, very much peace with myself, making that peace. But it was another journey in itself. What about yourself, Michael? Tell me.
Well, I mean, there's what you mentioned about having to retake. So, I mean, academically, I did very well at school. And yeah, I think, so actually, I would say two things, music and sort of academic success, something like that. The things that I was good at, basically, that I hung on to. But when after GCSEs, I went straight to another school to do A levels. And it wasn't so much that I was bullied there, but I didn't really pick up friends. And I think I was very self-conscious about size of my bum.
Where did that come from?
Well, that's where I put my weight on.
Oh, okay.
Didn't expect that one, did you now?
No, I didn't. But lovely. I love it. It's the things that we're conscious about. There's people around the world now that are really conscious about their bum. You know, that's the things that the thoughts that we have in our own brains, aren't they?
Yeah. I just there was one moment when there were a load of other kids, and I thought for some reason I think that one of them noticed this thing that I in my head was a big deal.
Yeah.
And was taking the mick, and I think this was maybe 4 months into me being at Wanstead, and that for some reason was the straw that broke the camel's back. There are two other things that were the other straws. One was that for the first time, academically, I found something really difficult. I'd taken physics, music, and maths. And physics I struggled with. And it was the first time in my life I'd struggled with anything academically. And I couldn't deal with it. I mean, looking back on it now, I realized that so much of my sense of self and sense of self-worth was wrapped up in the idea that I was clever and able to deal with these things. And for the first time, like, I couldn't do the work. I couldn't understand it. And I guess I ended up sort of attacking myself in here. And I gradually stopped going in. And I would lie to my parents. I would tell, because it was A-level time. And so unlike at school where you were in the whole day, for the first time, there were different periods of the day when I could... Yes, Mark, my bottom. That's right. Sorry.
Mark Edwards is saying your bum. Say what?
Yes, I had a big bum.
Yeah.
Smaller now. Anyway, but we covered my bum.
Yeah, we did. Do you know what? It's so beautiful to see, like, you know, as adults, as we're looking back to what that was, and to be able to laugh about it, you know, because there was a time when we couldn't.
Well, I literally thought I didn't have a sense of humor as a child.
Yeah, you see? Yeah.
I actually thought that.
Yeah.
Which is, for me, that now it's astonishing. I love a good laugh, as we all do. But,
yeah.
Actually, you know, the concept, the other kids would talk about, we'll go out and have a laugh.
Yeah.
And I didn't get it.
No,
What's having a laugh? I was a very serious child. I took everything super personally.
Yes.
Yeah. Just to finish off this, the A-level year.
Yeah.
So I would stay at home in my tracksuit bottoms.
Wow.
I'd stay in bed. I'd read computer magazines. I would get my younger brother. I wouldn't go in. My younger brother would come home from school, and I'd give him £1 to go down the road and buy me some chocolate.
Yeah.
And he could keep the change or something like that, like wine gums and something. And eventually he started wondering, why am I always home at the end of the day? Anyway, why was I home? Because physics for the first time was completely flummoxing me. I didn't get on with my music teacher, one of them. And that was so important to me to get on with the music teacher, because that's that was maybe the key relationship I had at secondary school. I really felt protected by my music teacher, Mr. Litchfield. And he really valued me, and I had a composition prize from him. And
I really identify. I had a Mrs. Lake, so yeah.
Who you met. And then to top it off, I cheated in a maths exam.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's the first time I've talked about that publicly. For sure. Well, that is a while ago. But basically, I think it was sort of, for me, it was a perfect storm. And I felt like just all the pressure of having gone through secondary school, you know, going through bullying, the friends that I had, save for one, or the friend I had, my experience was it was very two-faced kind of thing. And so he was my friend when it suited him, and not when it didn't. That kind of thing.
I can tell those like a.
And he gave me some terrible advice. There was a girl who I actually fancied who asked me out, and he told me to say no. And because I, at the time, valued his friendship more, I said no. And there was 2 years later, I then asked her out again, and of course she was like, embarrassing. These are the days of like dial-up phones.
Yeah.
That old.
What happened with these A-levels?
Right. So I don't remember exactly what month, but gradually I stopped going in. And the one thing I kept doing was music school.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
But at some point, must have been 2 months after I was basically barely going in at all. The school phoned my parents.
Oh, wow.
And my mother, bless her, was not angry with me. She was just overwhelmed with concern and love.
Lovely.
And I think the sum of it is that just all those years of going through this sort of crush of like it's me against the world kind of thing. And you know, all those feelings in a small space. I'd had enough. And for the rest of that year, I left that year, and then I started again at a different place, Epping Forest College. And that was, for me, that was the place where I started to breathe. I didn't have there wasn't like a moment like of realization like you had. But that was the first time I started making friends who I still see to this day. Even, through COVID crisis, we're WhatsApping and we have Zoom calls and stuff. And
so you retook those exams then, and then
Yeah, I didn't do physics again. I left that and did computing instead. I still wasn't ready to face that particular demon.
Yeah. It's funny as well, because I noticed for me what stood out was English and music. Those were the two things that both teachers just said. If you don't, you can become a writer or you can become a singer, but you need to do one of them. But it took a while for me to get this sense of self, you know, from having come out of that space to then get into a space where I could believe in myself. And I think that came out of, you know, which is why I am a coach, you know, because I'm a coach because I knew that if I wanted to get to my dream, which was music, which is the thing that could never be taken away from me, I knew I had to find a way back. And I didn't feel that I had any kind of mentorship around me that could give me that space. So I just thought, you know what, I'm gonna learn NLP. I'm gonna become a mind coach. I'm gonna become, and that journey took ages. I'm just seeing all these remarks. So Mark Edwards is saying, this is bloody epic. Gabrielle is saying, looking back, I realised how very protected and lucky I was, except for one teacher who enjoyed picking on me for no apparent reason. And then Tanya says, I had a Mr. and Mrs. Martin, my music teachers, and I also cheated at maths with Rob, but I got into grammar, which changed my life. So, you know, so everybody has those stories, and we find a way as adults then to kind of to make our way out of them. And also for myself, it was lots of therapy as well. I went into loads and loads of therapy. For me, that's what worked, and becoming a coach and learning the skills and the tools to empower my state of mind, which is why I'm so passionate about mentoring people now and about mentorship, because I know where I came from. And because I know where I came from, I do believe that everybody can change their state of mind with the help and support if needed. So tell me, what was the route out of it for you? How did that kind of work its way through?
I think for me it was a slow general thing. But you know, when I started my A levels at the new place, I started making friends. And just gradually inching my way towards feeling like I fitted in to a social group. This was such a new thing for me. I mean, if I'm honest, still to this day, when I'm out in a large social groups, there's something in the back of my mind that feels something could go wrong at some point, and people want to tell me to go away. We don't want you here. You know. And I mean, it's funny. Obviously, as a conductor, I'm working with very large groups of people, but you know that I'm there for the music. So there's a reason to be there, and I think that's a key reason why I feel comfortable as a conductor. Through the music, I have a reason to be there. But when I was a child, I felt like people are going to think I shouldn't be there. That was kind of what was going on. So I was at Epping Forest College, and some for the first time, I felt that. Yeah, I began to fit in, and the friendships grew, and I was doing music, so we were doing stuff together. I had this story that I was sort of on the outside of things, but it changed. And then I went to university. I went to Leeds, and that's how I started conducting. But I would say, you know, even then, I still felt outside of things. Even I was conducting the symphony orchestra. We were taking it on tours and all the rest. And you know, I knew everybody, and I would go to the pub and I would do my best. But you know, I was never really into drinking pints and pints and pints. But I liked a pint of bitter or two, and you know, I tried. But I mean, there's one particular memory that I thought might be relevant to this conversation. Just was that, well, I was on tour with the orchestra. This is in my first year when I was playing percussion, and we went to Orkney, I think, and I think it was Shostakovich 5, and I was playing the bass drum, which is epic at the end. and very cathartic.
Yeah.
But I wasn't really great friends with anybody, and I felt very alone. I remember sitting on the bus, and what I would do is I would have my Sony Discman, remember those?
Yeah.
And I would play Shostakovich 10, Shostakovich's 10th Symphony, the first movement of which is one of the most gut-wrenching, sort of emotional. It's so... that's the best way I can explain it, but in the best possible way. I mean, the whole thing closes with two piccolos duetting, and it just, like, there's no hope at all. But somehow, and this is a point I really did want to make on this call, the music, I felt like the music meant I didn't feel alone.
Yeah.
That was the point.
Yeah.
The music, I felt I didn't have to feel alone. I felt like the music understood, or I don't know, even putting words to it's not enough. Yeah. And then actually I went on to conduct that 2 years later, and it was one of the best things I did at university, because I felt so identified with the music. But the point I wanted to make was simply that the music comforted me.
Yeah.
Music gave me solace.
Yeah.
Music gave me life.
Yeah, absolutely. I identify with that long and hard. And we've got a question here from Mark. He says, to Michael, you say it was me against the world. When I saw your BOH concert, I had this sense of you, the musicians and all of us being completely united, which I always get from BOH as well, by the way. Do you feel this early experience helped to shape this event and your approach to music?
I assume the early experience being bullied and me against the world and all of that.
Yeah.
We touched upon that earlier, didn't we? That I've often wondered whether if I hadn't have gone through these things and felt these feelings and despair and all of that, would I make music in the same way? Honestly, I don't know. You'd need to do an experiment on twins.
Yeah, exactly.
But I wouldn't want to put one of the twins through that experience.
No.
Look,
not honestly. I mean, no regrets, but yeah.
Every experience we have in life. I mean, they do say that if you've never loved, then you never you've never fallen in love and never gone out of love, then you have to experience that. My instinct says early experience helped to shape this event and your approach to music. Well, yes, every experience in my life has contributed to anything that I do, and I think the Beethoven Orchestra for Humanity, a key idea underpinning it is everybody has a part to play.
Absolutely.
Just like in the orchestra, so do we all in the world. And I can see that now as partly as a sort of response to feeling as a child that I didn't have a part. And I had to sort of force my part or something like that. And, I think so many people in life feel that they're not really, that their contribution isn't really that important and they don't matter. And so you just do your thing and, the world does its thing, and missing that these things are completely interconnected in a real way. Yeah. Like, I think another point that's somewhere on the Beethoven Orchestra for Humanity website is like, we are humanity.
Yeah.
I think humanity is not something else, like a concept. Humanity.
Yeah.
No, you and me, and people who are listening, and everybody. It's us, and we affect each other. And there's so much in that.
No, I really identify. It's why everybody can. When the opera happens, it's about really bringing value to an individual person. And that I've had people say to me, "Oh, but I don't think I can do this." And I've said, "Well, no, we're going to give you that role within the opera company while we're doing it. Let's see if you can. Let's give you that value. Let's try this out." And we're all in it as one together. There's no hierarchy. We're all making music. We're all making the production together.
Yeah.
And the audience feel that as well.
Right.
And when the audience are there, they feel like they're a part of that value. They feel that they're a part of that synergy, that energy. of all of us working together to bring this music to life. And the audience are just as much a part of that as people that are doing it, you know. And I really identify with what you're just saying. Like, the reason why I am so much about that for mentoring and everybody can is because I didn't have a place. And I don't want anybody to ever feel like they don't have a place. You know, even in opera, like, I thought I wasn't allowed to be here. You know, I'm singing all over the world, but it's only in the last year that I've realized that I have a place, you know, and that I can own that place and claim that place. And I can see there's somebody there, Louisa Barry. New beginnings are often a very difficult but most important thing to do. Louisa Barry was one of the people that was there at my beginning, and I had hardly sung any notes. But she was somebody that I looked at, and she sang so well, and I was inspired by her. You know, so it's all these little role models that I had to witness at the time. Otherwise, I would have never have known how to. I wouldn't know what it looks like unless I could see loads of the examples. I followed, for example, I did a lot of role modeling, which I now learned from NLP is a natural thing to do, you know.
I missed something you just said. You did a lot of
role modeling.
Role modeling.
Yeah, because I didn't have another way to see something, you know. So I had to look at all these people who were great at this, and you know, and just keep adapting and you know, and learning. It was my only way of learning, you know. And I didn't go to a university or anything, so I was like, I went to the University of Life. So I was learning on the job all the time. And I remember walking in when I got in as an English National Opera Harwood artist, and before that they'd given me the role of Musetta, and I remember just crying and go, finally somebody has seen me for the first time, and I realized that the reason why I had been seen is because I had seen myself. Like, I was no longer hiding. I was no longer trying to protect myself from the bullies. I was allowing myself to come into my sense of self. I was allowing all the tools that I'd learned for me to come back home to music, come back home to my voice, come back home to my gift, and then to want to share it in every possible way and serve in the world and in the community.
It's so beautiful.
You're beautiful. I just thank you, Michael. I mean, I'm really moved. I don't want to start crying on here because it's not appropriate, but it's just, I just feel really moved. And your way of explaining everything, you know, and your experience, just thank you. But I also want to celebrate the fact that this thing around visibility, and we may see it differently, but it's just this thing about when you have been bullied or when you have had that in your life, there is this thing of wanting to protect or wanting to hide, and you have to find a way to come back to center, to come back into the world, to come to show up. And I've done it in singing, and I've done it, but I've noticed recently that you are on fire on TikTok. Mm-hmm. I want to know all about this. Can you tell us a bit about this? So this interview is going to go a tiny bit longer than normal, guys, but I just really want to find this bit out about TikTok for you.
Sure. Well, the funny thing is, it's all tied in. Everything's connected with the Beethoven Orchestra for Humanity. Just to give the context, our pilot was in 2016. And it was a great success, but it was on quite a small scale. Like a new vision of the orchestral experience for today's world. I'm sure we'll put a link if people want to find that.
Yes, we will do, absolutely.
And Mark was there, and that was great. And then you and I, the first time we worked together was a fundraiser for this, and where we felt this meeting of musical minds, and it was, really beautiful experience, and etc. Anyway, we want to do another concert, and we booked a date at the Hackney Round Chapel on November the 12th of this year. And we booked that back in December or January, I'm not quite sure. It's taken us a long time to find the right venue so that we could create the specific experience that we want to create, which is one of the key things is that the audience is around the orchestra and that everybody can see everybody and everything else and feel like you're inside the sound, like inside the experience. It's always something I've wanted people to experience, something of what it's like to conduct, is that you're in the sound. You're right there. And this feeling of communication. And as you mentioned earlier, how important the audience is to the experience of performance. I think so often the audience doesn't really necessarily get how key they are. Yeah. Maybe we're starting to see now with all these performances with no audience there, and there's something very disembodied about it. Yeah. Anyway, audience is key to the Beethoven Orchestra for Humanity thing. And just of the first year, for our original pilot, it was 200 people. The Hackney Round Chapel, 700 people in the audience, right? And we'd realized, okay, I don't know how to get 700 people there for this event. And I was talking with my longtime friend and former bandmate, Ryan Willard, who's an architect and does a podcast about business in architecture, etc. And he's been on social media for a long time. Yeah. And he got onto TikTok a few months back in the autumn. And had been sort of encouraging me to do stuff like that. And I ignored it. TikTok, whatever. Yeah. It's best for the kids. But anyway, he was around for dinner in January and he made some stupid little film of me and Teresa, did some quick editing with some effects and put some music on it. And he did it. He was sat there sort of giggling away. What's he up to? What's he up to? And then he showed us this thing and it was hilarious and it was brilliant. But you know, I enjoy my technical stuff, as I think you know, computers and all of that. And so there was that appeal to me. Anyway, one of the key things is you post regularly. You try and post every day. And I guess a couple of days later, I thought, you know, I'm going to give this a go. Yeah. And I made a little post. I put the piano at the side of the piano. Sorry, the piano at the side of the piano. The camera, the phone at the side of the piano. And I did a piano version of the song that he'd used in that little TikTok, which, as I now know, is the beginning of "I've Got Five on It" by Maroon. I got five on it. That's the one. No, not Maroon 5. But that's it. Just the beginning. Ba-da-bum. Yeah. Yeah. And so I did a little TikTok about that. And it's still there on my account, actually. Yeah. The quality of it looks so much lower than everything else later on, but it's there.
Anyway, you have to start somewhere.
Exactly. Yeah. At the beginning, basically, I stuck with the piano. I didn't know how to get conducting into a TikTok because I figured that just sticking a video there of me conducting would not, on TikTok, that wouldn't work. On TikTok, it's all videos, maximum a minute long. Yeah. Often the things are like only 10 seconds, 15. Yeah. And there needs to be an angle, something like that. That's what I figured. So I did sort of piano-ish things, but I thought, you know, I am a conductor. That's the thing I've probably spent the most time thinking about.
Yeah, and you're great at
meditating on. Thank you. I sort of baby steps. I think maybe 2 weeks in, I did some like a joke lesson. I saw that on TikTok there was a trend of people teaching people stuff like, I don't know, something with a pen, stupid things. Yeah. So I thought, okay, how to conduct Beethoven 5. Like pick up a ball and throw it. Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. Etc. And so there's that. And then I think the next conducting thing, I was on the train. I was on my way to the youth orchestra down in Hereford. And I was, you know, practicing conducting. And I thought, I'll just video this because I make little noises and call it train conductor. Anyway, so we've gone from piano, little bit of conducting, train conductor. And then, okay, I need to back this up. I need to actually show that I can conduct. Otherwise, whatever. So then I used a little bit of Beethoven 5 of me actually conducting it. Yeah. With a stupid some stupid captions, but at least I got it out.
They
there.
weren't stupid, they were funny. They were showing the funny side of you, which was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, in this case, it was literally, I called it Beethoven 5 with subtitles, and it just went ba 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 with the music, and then da 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 da. We're
gonna have to send everybody to your TikTok now, Michael, because they just
Karcher-Young. That's the one.
Yeah. But do you love it? Do you love it? Do you love the like having that relationship with music and showing your funny side in your
Well, yeah, absolutely. And that this is the thing. I thought all sorts of different sides are coming out in many ways, because I've sort of focused on sort of doing things with a sort of twist, a sort of tongue-in-cheek, maybe, that kind of thing. That's all great. And actually now I feel like I've started putting maybe more serious things out there. There's one clip of me playing a bit of Janáček, which is deeply it's a very moving piece that he wrote mourning his daughter, actually. Just a minute of that, just because the music so ate me up. I thought, and it's so simple that I share it. But just to say that the thing that really made the difference on TikTok, there was one video of me mucking up with an F, and getting away with it, some Tchaikovsky in the middle of Tchaikovsky 6. And it's like 22 seconds. I explain it with captions. I literally spent a week making sure that it was as clear as possible to non-musical audience. So I'm not talking about bars and beats. What I should have beat clearly and shown the timps on 4 and the brass on 1, something like that. No, none of that. Just like should have been brass and then timps. What actually happened? And that video blew up.
Wow.
That video blew up. Through that, I went from 20 followers to 1,000 followers kind of overnight.
Wow.
And since then, I'm now on about 4,150 followers. And I make video pretty much every day. And one of my favorite things is the comments. And this is maybe for me personally, one of the most beautiful things, because people are, they put their comments and they have discussions, and you have people liking other people's comments. And then also on TikTok, you can respond to comments with a video.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So like somebody wrote, I thought that what happens if there's no guy with wand? That literally her words. No guy with wand. So I did a little video. I found a little wand sticker, and then a guy disappearing under a sheet. And I answered the question, etc. But connecting with people, I'll even. There was one point actually after I released the viral video, I thought, wow, I'm cool now.
You are cool. You are cool.
I always wanted to be cool as a kid, and I was never cool.
And now you're cool as an adult, which is even better.
Actually, I'm not sure I want to be cool, actually. Anymore. I'm bored. Cool is cool.
Can I just read some of these comments? I've got Louise Harry saying, overwhelmingly, you say that I inspired you, Nadine B, but let the world know that actually an hour of NLP with you liberated me of years of self-bullying. That was my moment. Oh, Louisa. I don't know what to say to that right now, but thank you. And Davina Shum says, collective engagement between the performers and the audience. It's a thing, really enjoying this conversation. Thank you, Davina. Tanya's saying, I so would love that. I'm not sure what that's about. Mark Edwards is saying, I experienced at the BOH being so close to the musicians, seeing their faces, observing their interactions really did make me feel a part of it. I typically don't enjoy classical music, but this performance was amazing. Oh, Mark, that's wonderful. And Teresa Karcher-Young, your lovely wife, is saying, yes, he does. Lots of laughs. And Mark Edwards says, you've always been cool, Michael.
Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? Because, I know we've got to wrap this up in a minute, though, because it's got the work going. What people...
Is anyone still there?
Yeah, they are. But what people don't know about us as well is that while we are both classical musicians and do our singing or conducting, we both also have been in rock pop bands, and you know, and have had the experience of kind of bringing that to our music as well. So, you know, I think we can kind of pass as cool now, Michael. I think that's okay. So
I need some sunglasses now.
Michael, this has been a really brave chat, and I really appreciate the courage that it's taken. And it's the first time I've spoken about it as well. And I'm sure we're going to have other conversations that will come up now in the ether, because we've both walked out and been really honest about our feelings, you know. But I would love to know, if there was something that you wanted to tell your younger self, what would you have told him?
Well, you know, that people used to say to me as a child, because I took everything super personally, that there's that saying, sticks and stones may break your bones, but names will never hurt you. And I used to rail against that. What are you talking about? Names hurt. They totally hurt. Well, I mean, I learned something many, many years later. I mean, pretty recently. Oh, my Mac is low on battery. I may cut out.
Yeah.
Look, the short of it is that I learned that we feel what we feel is whatever thoughts are going through our mind in that moment, and that it's not the truth about you or us. It's just what you're thinking. Like, and there's that saying, not a saying, but the idea that if you think that everybody hates you, you need to eat. Yeah. And if you think that you hate everybody, then you need to sleep. But what that points to is that there's something that goes on within us that is basically the color of our perception.
Yes.
And what I didn't get as a child is that the feelings I was experiencing were not telling me the truth about myself. Yes. They didn't mean anything about myself. And I think if I'd have understood that as a child, I wouldn't have taken things so personally, and I would have understood what it meant to have a laugh.
Yeah.
Having said all of that, maybe I wouldn't make music in the same way.
Exactly. I really identify. And one of the final points is like not to make other people's opinions become your reality, because you really, really, really don't have to do that. And Tanya is saying, thank you. Don't believe everything you think. And that's true, Tanya. It's like our thoughts, what I now know, what I didn't know then, is that I'm in charge of my thoughts. I'm in charge of what I think about myself, and I'm in charge of that. And with daily affirmations, daily positive self-talk, looking at myself in the mirror. Sometimes I had to learn to say I love you, Nadine, in the mirror, so I could love myself again. I had to learn what that feels like, and I had to look into my eyes and do that, you know. And having that relationship with myself meant then that I could open my heart out again to others, and not believe the thoughts that had been downloaded onto me unconsciously from a child.
You identified with,
yeah, you know. And so I don't want you to cut out, because so I'm going to end this interview. And but I want to thank you, Michael, so much for
thank you.
Yeah, just thank you. And thank you for everyone that has stayed with us. I know it was longer than normal, but I just felt that this couldn't just be rushed. I didn't know if there'd be people out there that would be identifying, or that needed us to talk a little bit longer. I just felt we needed to go from the heart space and just go until we stopped. And you were the perfect person to take this journey with, Michael, and I appreciate you so much. And everybody who stayed here with us, and whoever watches this later, thank you so much for staying with us. We're going to put some ways to contact Michael and contact myself or other organisations inside the comments, and we'll get back to you. And Susan, just before we go, can relate to bullying as a mum. Both children were bullied through jealousy, heartbreaking. Thankfully now confident young adults. Thank you both. Stay safe. And thank you, everybody. Tomorrow we're going to have the wonderful Kim Chandler here with us. She's amazing. I can't wait. She's going to be talking all about the business. Mark is saying truly enlightening discussion both. So Michael, thank you so much.
Thank you
so much. See you all tomorrow, and thank you so much. And God bless. Stay safe. And if anything that we've said has helped, please pass it on. Sending so many blessings. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.